Hello and welcome to this episode of All Things Policy. My name is Yusuf Unjhawala. I am an adjunct scholar at the Takshashila Institution, and today I have with me the pundit of geospatial studies at the Takshashila Institution, Professor Nithiyanandam. And today we are going to talk about China's renewable energy transformation in Tibet. We'll dive straight into it. Prof, what do we have?
Well, today we are going to discuss about renewable energy developments happening in Tibet Autonomous Region, let's say for last 10 years. And we'll be discussing broadly on the developments in solar renewable energy extraction, wind, geothermal, hydro, and what else?
They have not left anything. I mean, all aspects of
Even a bit of bio-based energy as well.
geothermal. That's interesting. There's geothermal energy available. What is the quantum of it?
Well, geothermal energy is the way of extracting heat from the ground through the natural sources, and that is used further to generate electricity. Indeed, Tibet Autonomous Region has this capacity. It's been one of renewable energy source from the very beginning. There are, as per documentations, over 600 places that it can be tapped, but the way for extracting it is not suitable for a large scale utility level project.
Economically not
It's
viable.
not economically viable. So it has happened in plants from you can say 30-40 years ago as well, but the scales have not increased a lot, but slowly we can see those plants are also coming up in multiple areas where the resources are exist.
So, which is the highest potential in terms of this renewable energy? So, we've heard China damming the river
Yarlung
Sangpo, and that is going to be the largest dam ever in the world. So, is hydroelectricity the most valuable in terms of the potential that is there and easily extractable in terms of even economic terms?
Right. So there are two major sources. The one is hydro. The second one is solar. So hydro still stands as the top contributor in this region because it's tapped heavily, and the extraction process will increase more. The number of hydro dams that we are seeing at present will increase more, and the number will go high. So at this time, you can say more than 50. I have detailed. I've given details in my bulletin. You can check, but over 50% is hydro, and around 30-35% is solar, and remaining things are the rest of the energy sources, wind and you can say geothermal and bio.
So, there is permafrost over there. So, how are they installing these solar facilities over there?
Well, solar is a classical case how the challenges that once seen as impossible to have larger solar plants in Tibet Autonomous Region, now it has overcome. That's because the developments in engineering related to that has happened in China over the years. So one can easily think of like, okay, there is a lot of permafrost, but not every part of Tibet Autonomous Region is of permafrost region, right? There are regions where you can have dry, cold climates. That's why in one of a bulletin we covered different climatic conditions exist in Tibet. Over 5 microclimatic conditions exist all across the Tibet. So some places you will not have permafrost condition, but it's too dry and cold. So the solar plants are spread up in a places where the resources can be extracted at a maximum level. Indeed, the previous article we have calculated the solar potential across Tibet in 2 different seasons. That gives us a contrasting output, because if you look at the central part of Tibet, where largely you can have central and southern part, you can have this renewable energy, especially the solar energy, throughout the year. Whereas the western part of it, you can have this in a certain period of the year. So that is why the larger plants which are there in the central part and also in the eastern part of Tibet, I'm talking about solar plants. So where the energy harvesting can continue majority of the year. And when it comes to limitations, as you said, permafrost is one of a limitation, and even high abundance of solar energy sometimes cause impact, because that can harm the solar panels.
So, the high altitude.
High altitude also creates a challenge.
I mean, high altitude means
High
more
altitude means
better capture of
more solar exposure,
yeah.
Solar energy exposure. So that can also harm the panels, right? And also another challenge is like, what is the continuity of sources from this? Because it works in day, and then over storage of this unless we have a necessary storage facilities that can store for the rest of the diurnal cycle, this energy generation will go waste, right? But then these were the challenges, and those challenges were addressed. There are AI which are deployed, there are IoT sensors which are deployed on these plants to monitor it, to minimize the losses. There are multiple ways they have used to optimize these plants, and each thermal or you can say solar energy plants has a particular blueprint these days. It has a particular storage facility in corner of this plant, and then it has connectivity to the grids and so on. So it is structured in a way the new plants are getting bigger with a facility to manage the the limitations that traditionally we felt it is impossible to have in this area.
So, what is you've spoken about a transformation. Now, transformation is a big word, right? So, what is this transformation you're seeing in terms of the capacity of electricity that will be generated over there? In terms of China, is already a very large producer, like largest in the world, right? So, what more is happening over here, which you put it as transformational?
So, if you look at the overall renewable energy capacity in the world, I think 60% or so comes from China, and people may think Tibet at present is looking at in a way that it can contribute a lot to the China, but the statistic says in another way, it is contributing less than 1% of total renewable energy generation in China. So it is right now around between 7 to 9 gigawatts, right? But then the transformation is from where it has started and where it is today, and what is the timeline, right? What they have planned in next 20 to 30 years, and what is planned in 2050, and what is planned in 2070 for say. So we all know that 2060 is a year they have given for the carbon net neutrality. They need more and more renewable energy as much as possible. They can tap it from anywhere in their areas. So this is one area where they can tap more. So it is going to increase multiple fold that they can leverage from this area, and you can say, you can go up to 8 to 9 times that they can get it from these areas. So when the hydro dam comes into place, it straight away jumps to 70 to 80 gigawatts per year, and it goes even 3-digit thereafter. So that's the plant, right? So that I see as a bigger transformation. It is not about what we are seeing today. The likely expansion of this, the way they are sorting out challenges in solar, wind energy, and even geothermal, it's interesting to understand like this is going to expand. It's not going to minimize.
China is already electricity surplus. It is investing big in even nuclear power plants.
Right.
Why is it investing in Tibet in this? Is there a strategic element in this, or is it just electricity?
So let's go to the strategic element later on. But what I see why they are investing on renewable energies more in Tibet, which is slightly far from their industrial bases. I could see in this way, because the net zero target, the carbon emission has to be cut down, and then it has to be done before 2060, right? And they've taken it seriously. Their current industrial bases, there is no net zero emission industrial park, but they are doing it at industry level scales, like unit factory level scales. But as an industrial sectors, I think they have over thousands of industrial zones in China, but none of them is net zero industrial zone for now. And I was reading the other day, if they have to do it, if they have to do it as a net zero industrial zone, they need to cut down their carbon emission by 90%. So which means the classical electricity sources is not the one they need to look for to cut down the footprint of carbon. They need to go for more and more renewable energy sources. They need to shift from coal usage. They need to shift from other usages to the renewable energy sources. So there is a necessity to tap hard wherever it is possible. And why they are doing it here, and it is available in an abundant way in Tibet Autonomous Region, and they are building UHVD systems, ultra high voltage DC currents, which can transfer this to the industrial bases in China, the eastern parts, without with very minimum losses. I cannot say that without any loss. There is a very minimum loss compared to the traditional transmission systems. So in that way, the energy tapped over here can be transformed to the other part of it. Now coming to the strategic part of it. The
So
question
can I
is,
stop you over here? I mean, if they are contributing just 0.5% of right now, even if it's say scaled up with this dam coming up and they scale up to 100 gigawatts,
right,
it's still going to be a small percentage of their
Right.
overall production. So, and the thing is, the investment required to create this big dam with the ecological conditions, the factors that are there, and also uh, it is an upper riparian, and there are concerns with India and all. So,
Right.
is it worth for them to put in that kind of money for a very small percentage of electricity?
Well, that is a right question indeed. It may not be worth in my opinion, but then the dam has strategic. The electricity generation in this place and the location of the dam gives them strategic advantage, as I can see. One is, as you said, it's rightly sits just above India's Arunachal Pradesh, and it can during the construction phase and even thereafter, it can disrupt our lifeline to a bit, right? I will not say completely because we don't have currently sufficient data sets to say whether any construction or disrupting the water will impact the downstream in a greater way or less way. So I'm not getting into that part at this moment, but it will disrupt for sure. That gives them a strategic control on that area. Second is possible generations over the closer areas. One can export it to countries beyond, uh, beyond India. So at this moment, we cannot expect that electricity can be exported to India, but then it can be exported to landlocked Nepal and Bhutan as well. Right? There is an option that it can be transported because we are seeing this electricity grids are spreading across and it is coming closer to the international boundaries. So it can
I mean, is
power
that
up.
an option? Because Nepal exports electricity to India,
Right.
So it in today's terms, it is electricity surplus.
Right.
So Nepal is not going to be a customer for that.
Right.
Similarly, Bhutan's needs are not
Right.
as massive, and again they are also in the same region and they have electricity. Um, is the strategic element driving the electricity generation, especially the dam, or is it because Tibet is also very sparsely populated?
Right.
But what about 6 million people, 60
Right.
lakh people, right? So it's not that there is a huge demand for electricity and it does not require 100 gigawatts. What is the element here?
Tibet is already surplus in terms of energy, consumption. Whatever renewable energy they consume, they're already surplus. This energy is, literally going to the other parts this moment as well. But yes, it has a strategic element. It can allow people to, settle down here. We are talking about the existing population and population density in Tibet. But these kind of activities require skilled laborers. The skilled laborers need to come from other provinces of China to this place. And then thereafter the population and demographics will change in that area. That is my expectation.
So you create the electricity and then you transport people from other parts
For
and
example-
settle them. And they talk of these border
Right.
villages.
For example, wind. So each wind farm, one particular wind turbine, one pole requires around 10 people for their maintenance and related activities. So if you have around 10 farms, 10 wind turbines in a particular zone, I'm taking one zone. So you'll have at least 100 skilled laborers there, right, or 50 skilled laborers in that area and their assisted families and so on. So there is a way that it can also bring other people and it can also increase the population on ground. It can change the demographics and cultural shifts and many things can happen thereafter. It's kind of nexus effect rather than looking at it as an isolated problem.
So how should India see this?
Well, I think in two ways. One is this renewable energy tapping, excess tapping in Tibet Autonomous Region. Well, other than hydro, I see the other things are not going to impact India directly. The hydro development will directly impact India. Whereas other than hydro, solar, wind, and geothermal to an extent, geothermal plants are little inside China, so inside Tibet Autonomous Region, that's okay. Whereas the solar and wind farms are getting closer to the international boundary. It can bring people to the borders. It can increase the permanent presence in the areas that we are interested in or they are also interested in. So these things can become a threat and they can also bring tourist inflow into this region. Let's see Medong in this case, the tourists who are visiting Medong has increased multiple times in last 5 years or so. So they're coming very close to the international boundaries and borders, so that the tourists are coming all the way from different part of China. The air connectivity is there, road connectivities are there, people coming. So I see more and more human footprint in this region, where the footprint used to be less in the past. I think that is a concern for us.
So it's more like showing permanent settlement in contested areas where they say our tourists are always coming. There are people, and then they keep going. It's something like how grazers were used at one time here, right? So let me ask this: is there any possibility that they are installing equipment in Tibet which requires high power? And this can be surveillance. It can be what else would you think can be installed in those areas which would require high amount of electricity, for which they are creating that kind of infrastructure?
Well, there are a couple of options I could see. There is a speculated, information which is rolling out. There's a possibility of keeping data centers, because given the weather condition exists in this region and the abundance of renewable energy in this region, perhaps.
So water, and it's already cold over there, and there's a lot of abundant land available.
You have land availability, and then you have energy which is available there. Data centers could be the best option to have.
But that's more benign as far as India is concerned. But from a strategic perspective,
the
from
other
India's
thing is,
perspective,
if you look at one of our article in the past in Geospatial Bulletin, we covered about the signal intelligence facilities which are placed in Shigatse first thing. Recently also we have been hearing news about the Chinese facility in Cuba, where it can listen the American conversations on the other side of the ocean. So the same thing happens here. The same facilities exist here. If you look at the shape and the structure, the similar facility exists in Shigatse. And if that is the case, you can still look around and hear what is happening in a passive way. It is not an active instrument that can send signals. It can passively observe and listen. And there are HF, high frequency and very low frequency antenna systems which are there in that area. So those can also listen around what people are talking and to a larger area. So those are the things. Again, power consumptions are there, and then military bases, of course. And we have seen this in solar plants expansion in the previous case. Let's say even Shigatse Airport and other airports, we can see the increase of solar panels all around is showing that the utilization of this energy is increasing. They are slowly drawing power from its neighborhood. It's not like there's a concept of hubs. It's not like you're drawing it from a different place or different area. Try to generate it as close as possible. And we have seen this in a remote post also, where they have used solar plants to power up small things in this. We have seen this one close to Pangong also, right? They have a smaller set of solar panels which powers this. And this is a pattern that we can see it in many other remote posts. And more than that, we are seeing the roofs are also getting transformed. The roofs are also getting solar plants in many, civilian building infrastructures, but it may be used as a dual purpose thing. So the idea is they're tapping more and more here that can be leveraged for the local use, and especially for building roads and building all these dams. You also require electricity in remote areas. That can be managed by having other renewable energy sources in the neighborhood. That's what you can see at a place where you can have solar panels. Very close to that, you will have a dam, and then you can see if there is a potential for wind farm, you can still have wind farm in that area. And all this electricity is pooled and connected to the main grid. That's we call it as hubs, right?
So you talked about dual use infrastructure. So this is what, right? So you can have data center, but you can also have a military facility over here. And so this infrastructure is that. So we have to watch it. What do you say? I mean, what kind of pointers would you see, right? If when you look at imagery and you find electricity generation unit, so do you automatically kind of assume that there might be a military facilities coming close by, or it might be already be there?
So in this case, the facilities are started. If you look at, let's say, 5 years ago, this renewable energy plants are placed in an areas where you can use it for dual purposes, right? You have some facility, either a small village or a military facility or an infrastructure activity happening all around. But later on, we can see 10 megawatt plants, solar plants, and bigger plants are coming up, and those are kept in an remote places also. So what I see is, rather than keeping them for strategic purpose, now looks like there is a shift in spatial orientation. They are tapping it where abundantly available, and then they're also developing nearby areas. So that leads to population expansion around that area.
So, what is the environmental impact over here and the cultural? I mean, what do you get from within Tibet in terms of the attitudes of the Tibetan over there to all this infrastructure building, and also because they are building all this infrastructure and they are trying to bring in a lot of people from outside, so there's a demographic dilution also. So, can you just throw some light on that?
So, if I look at the impact, right? For example, there's one of a monastery we have mentioned in our recent article, which was analysis we have carried out with Radio Free Asia at that time, a year ago or so. What happened in that monastery is, like, an hydro dam is being built, and in the construction phase it didn't happen anything, but then once it is completed, when the reservoirs start filling, it is very clear that this monastery, the several years old monastery, is going to submerge. In that case, it got displaced to a new place. So a lot of protesters happened, but the reservoir came up as expected, and then it started functioning as we know now. But this is not one incident. It looks like there are multiple incidents happens in many places. Indeed, minor earthquakes are happening regularly in Tibet, which is very less noticed in open domains. But then the concerns are not addressed in an effective way, as we can see, because ecological concerns, because of this bigger plants, it definitely exists, but it is not addressed to a level that we can look at, because especially the hydro dam and the bigger hydro dam that we are going to see at Medong, in the vicinity of Medong, is going to have a large impact, especially given its fragile zone. So the placement of this mega dam, which is right up in India's neighborhood in Arunachal, just above Arunachal Pradesh, is one of a bigger challenge, right? So it is in a fragile zone where you have landslide, you have earthquakes, and you have high rainfall in that area, because the climatic condition exists over there. It's almost similar to what we have in Arunachal Pradesh, where in this area they get a lot of rain as well. So building a dam over here is a very, very challenging task, and they are doing it. But then the environmental impacts and the impact to its culture and neighborhood is not looked at in a way that we are expecting it at this stage.
But that
how they're going to address is not clear.
But that also impacts India, right? Especially with the release of water, or how it can be. Our concern is strategic, that they may use water, turn it off and off to flood India.
Right.
So there is no dialogue happening in that regard.
It's but not it is a going to be a turn off, turn on kind of system, because it's a cascading dam. If you look at the previous dams which are built on Yarlung Sampo, more are run of the river dams, and this kind of steep slopes, it is not possible to have a bigger reservoir to to impact downstream. But then this is going to be a cascading dam where the extraction happens at multiple stages. But then still, if you alter any of this thing, there will be a little more storage, and at least the size of reservoir, small size of reservoir comes into this kind of dams as well. Or the water level rises in the present form. Wherever the streams comes in, the water level rises over there also, just before it enters into Namcha Bawa. So now, when you have this will impact the downstream. It's not just about water. The associated factors, you can see the soil which is coming all along, the fertile soil which is coming all along from there, and the kind of species which are in this water. And the downstream is again used to a particular pattern. So all this will get changed, right? The moment when all this gets changed or altered or modified to an extent, well, that definitely has an impact. So the environmental concerns need to be addressed in a better way. We are seeing how they are still trying to address the environmental concerns in Mekong Basin, where the dams were built a decade ago, right?
Several times, hundreds of times. Yeah. So just to round things up, to put it in a nutshell, what it means to see there and what it means for India. I mean, the kind of developments happening, the scale of which is happening, and what it means for India.
See, what I see, I'll put this question in two parts. The first part, I could see what is there in terms of scale. The scale is bigger when we look at what is there in the current stage. It's going to be bigger in future. But then it's still going to be a very small part compared to overall China's effort to generate renewable energy source. But what it can bring a lot of new developments close to our neighborhood. So you can expect demographic changes. You can expect more of urbanization, more of industrial developments in our neighborhood. And the bigger concern to India is if as things develops and things coming very close to the international boundary and the permanent presence of people, dual use facilities and other activities all along the industrial areas.
No,
international areas.
if you look at it, they are like you said, they are covering entire spectrum of renewable energy, right?
Right.
Solar, wind, geothermal, hydro,
And to an extent biofuels also.
and in an area which is very hostile, right? It's 6,000 meters, up there. They'll be learning a lot and developing new technologies.
Right.
That will kind of give China tremendous leverage in exporting all these technologies in various parts of the world. I mean, geothermal is in Tibet region. I mean, it sounds, they will develop all kinds of technologies to extract geothermal energy at 6,000 meters in that cold area.
So you can see geothermal, it's developed in dual ways. In one of a classical geothermal plant, they have a theme park next to it. So the theme park is for utilizing hot spring waters and so on, where you bring a lot of tourists to this place. They get therapeutic bathing over there. So all these things happens in this area. Whereas the technology transfer, while many of these research activities happens all around this Tibet Autonomous Region challenges, and they are sorted out over a period of time, so I believe the technology transfer also happens from other regions. Let's say wind, for example, the challenge to have wind turbine in this area has been there for a long time. But now you can see a lot of world records gets, it's been broken almost every 2 months or a month, because the wind turbines are placed at higher and higher altitudes, which gives them a constant power source. Like a 10 megawatt electricity can be generated from one single wind turbine. So it is, you can get it from a particular pole throughout the year and most of the period of the year at a remote place. So this gives them an opportunity. For the technology for that, it's unclear whether it is built indigenously or it is transferred from other areas where, let's say for Europe, who is good at these technologies, it is unclear where they get technologies, but the challenges are overcome every day.
So look, China has been building infrastructure all over the country. It tries to build the highest, tallest, largest, all kinds of things, right? Even this dam is the largest way. Is it using all these technologies to test its capability to push the envelope in terms of, do you think that is also a factor where it wants to see how far it can go, where it can install this renewable energy and the technologies that develop? I mean, they built train over permafrost, right? So it was again, it was engineering skill, which and they develop all kinds of technology for it. So how much of that is also a factor in developing all this?
They've taken it seriously. So I can see this in another way. The things which are placed in Tibet, yes, there is a research which is behind this to understand the challenges and the solutions that is required. Alternatively, in terms of dams, the blueprint for establishing new set of technology in terms of hydro production has been tested in other parts of China also, where you have near, closer, you can say, the facilities or the structure where things are experimented. And then those technologies are scaled up in Tibet, right? So that is what I could see, that it's not just, in terms of solar, yes, it may be unique in Tibet. Wind farm, hydro, we can see it in other parts of China also. So the technology is largely developed at national level and then brought it to these places.
Awesome. I think we have had a great discussion today, not only just about what's happening in Tibet, but in terms of Chinese technological advancements in renewable sector. Great, Prof. Thanks for your time. We should also say that Professor is the geospatial pundit, like I said. He also runs a capsule course on it. So people who are listening and interested in this field can take up this course.
And please see the latest bulletin which we released
And see
yesterday.
the latest bulletin. Thanks so much, Prof, for your time. We'll see you next time in the next episode of All Things Policy. Thank you.